friends, welcome back to 3 Barrow Farm. For those who are new here, my name is Amy and I live in central Victoria in Australia with my family of 5, and we live on 42 acres. And I have just come home from being away for 5 days. So I have not been in my garden. I have not been able to harvest. My husband, however, has been here and he has been looking after things. But the first thing I noticed when I got home was things are a little bit drier. And my husband's been really busy working, so he hasn't had much time to go and harvest things, although I did tell him to keep check on the zucchinis and cucumbers in particular. But I did pick a lot of smaller zucchinis and I took a whole bunch of them away with me, so I had them to cook with while we were away. Here are 3 zucchinis that he harvested this morning, so this one's gotten away quite a lot. And now I'm just fossicking around, but I have just put the drippers on. So he did water the garden, not yesterday, but the day before, or maybe he missed 2 days. And so that's why it's a bit dry, because I'm normally watering it, a deep watering, every second day. So I've picked this one just now, and I can see there's another good sized one on that plant. I do have a lot of zucchini plants, so bear with me as I have a little look. I really need to stake these zucchinis up. I've got another one here, which as it starts to sort of bulb out here, so this one will probably turn into something looking like this one here if I don't pick it now. So I've picked it now. It might look a little bit small, but actually the smaller ones are the better ones. I mean, the smaller ones are what we're buying in the shops anyway. It's pretty windy today, and it was quite windy while we were driving back from up north. It feels so good to be home and to my garden. I find it really hard to be away from my garden at this time of year. I feel like I want to take my garden away with me, but I did have a very nice, relaxing holiday and it was much needed. I swam in the water holes. I did some meditation and just kicked back while my kids played with all of their friends, and it was just amazing. You can just see right here, I have all of the beetroot that I let go to seed. Pretty much dry now. I think this is ready to harvest. So the seed is ready to collect and to use. And what I might do is collect some of this and trial it. So I might put some in some seed raising trays and see how it goes, see whether it germinates. But I've got a few more zucchini plants here, and these are younger ones. And I did pick the small ones from these plants before I went away. I can see one over here, and there are a few smaller ones, so that's not bad. So there are all the zucchinis that I've now picked and my husband picked today after not picking any for 5 days. The sweet peas are so very fragrant right now. It's probably because I've been away and now I'm back in my garden and I'm noticing the smell so much more than when I've been here every day in the garden. My girls are also very happy that we're home, aren't you? Yeah. So much better with 5 people than just one. These sunflowers here hadn't burst until, I think this one here in the middle. That one just came out the day I left. So it has some friends that have joined it. And these corns here are getting taller and taller. These are the blue popping corns. The mullein is starting to set seed in all these pods. So they were making these beautiful flowers on these plants here. But now they've got some more seeds coming out. So I'm going to have lots of seeds again. Ooh, there's lots of green tomatoes in these vines here. And oh, there's a yellow one over there. This is my very, very overgrown wild patch of tomatoes here. Look at all of these. Look at them all. So many. Let me see if I can grab that one, yellow one. And while I've been away, the mint has started to flower. So it's popping on its flowers. I will hack this back soon because I don't need it to flower and spread seed. This pumpkin vine is getting closer and closer to the apple row right here. I'm trying to encourage it to come this way instead, but it keeps going to the east. And there was one pumpkin starting to grow here. It was about the size of, oh my goodness. It was about the size of a tennis ball, but look at it now. Can you see that? It's surrounded by nettles, so I can't really... There we go. Can you see how big it is? It's like getting really, really big. Oh, wow. This section through here is quite wild. I'm going to need to come and tame this garden a bit. But I have the pumpkins growing up the Rio, which is good. I've been training them too, and they seem to be continuing to do so. The yarrow has set seed here, so I'm going to need to cut this back because I've already got a load of plants coming from seed from last year. I don't really need more growing. However, I could give them away. That is always an option. So I've got a pumpkin growing from over there all the way over to the other side where this Rio is. And these cucumbers and rock melons need training up this Rio here. So I'll need to come out and train them. But is there any fruit? Oh, look. Look at that. There is my first rock melon. That's very exciting. Have any of you ever grown pennyroyal? This is what pennyroyal looks like when it flowers. It's very pretty. You can see here that the cockies have been eating into my sunflowers, and they were doing this before I left. But there are some that are still here and haven't been eaten completely yet, like this one here. And it's probably because it's bending all the way down to the ground. They tend to go for the ones that are up high. So this one's pretty much been eaten except for the middle part there. This one's been absolutely devoured. And this one here, that was at least 10 foot tall right now, but I think it was about 12 foot tall because the flower was up here and a cocky has sat on it and broke it and then ate the flower before it even made seed. So my giant Russian sunflower that actually got to the full size, it's no longer. It'll be a great stalk. I'll let it dry off and see what I can do with it. Okay, so this is not great. I've just come across what looks like the tail of a blue tongue. I'm just going to get my dogs inside and then ask my husband whether he has seen a blue tongue around. Perhaps it got caught in this netting, which has now actually ended up on the ground, not where it's supposed to be. Okay, so my husband's in a meeting, so he can't answer my question about the blue tongue tail. Hopefully the dogs didn't get the blue tongue. Yeah, we'll see. I'll ask, but he hasn't mentioned anything. So, and he's been keeping the dogs close to him, which has been hard. It is hard to manage 42 acres and animals and everything and working full time as well by yourself. So if I forget to fill you in on the blue tongue thing, please check the comments below. I will put it down there. I've got some marigolds coming along nicely in this section. I found one random tomato over yonder. I'm being really careful to walk through my garden because no one's really been present here for 5 days. So I need to walk through carefully. I can see that there is one tomato on here. There are so many tomatoes coming on this, and there's one that's going orange. So that's exciting. But what's more exciting is my first big tomato. Look at that. She's a beauty. I'll have to look up what that one is, what the variety is, because I think the labels have come out of this area. These tomatoes need to be tied against the Rio again. And these potatoes to the right of me that also have a pumpkin vine growing amongst them, these need to be harvested soon. They're starting to die off. So I will be harvesting more potatoes very soon. I think there are more tomatoes over in the next garden. So let's go and have a look and see what we can find there. Okay, firstly, one thing that I have just observed while I've been walking towards this garden is that my parsley seed is ready. So I've got all this parsley seed falling down in this area here and a lot of it to collect. So I will be coming out here and collecting this seed this weekend. The dahlias need a good cutting back. They're all starting to die off or go to seed. So I was hoping to save a few of these for seed, but I will be chopping back all the ones that I'm not saving so that it creates more beautiful flowers like this. All right, this spot is a nice shady spot from the wind and from the sun. And I've got my tomato wall here, which is what's protecting me from the sun. And I can spy loads of tomatoes. And while we're here, let's have a look at this fruit fly trap. There are no fruit flies in the fruit fly trap as of yet. Hopefully that means that there are no fruit flies. I accidentally picked a green one, but I've got one handful so far. Oh, and these sunflowers over here that I spread seed really late are getting bigger. I think I've got enough cherry tomatoes here to make a few cherry tomato focaccias, which will be lovely. Another small handful. The basil underneath is also going a bit wild, so I'll need to harvest some basil from all the basil plants that I have under here. Oh, which reminds me, I haven't looked at the basil plants over in the other garden yet. I'll have to do that. And there are branches to be tied back up onto the Rio, which are bending over. So I will need to get onto that as well. And here is another big tomato. It kind of feels like it's ready, so I'm going to pick it off, hopefully. There we go. This one is a beefsteak tomato. So exciting, another big one for my basket. You can go next to this big one. My goodness, look at this. I think I might grab some twine and attach this to the Rio right now because it really needs it. But in here, there are some beautiful basil growing. It's doing so well. I'm not sure I can see any more red ones, but there are some huge tomatoes that are, going to ripen very soon. There's some big ones down here and lots of them. So I'm very excited. I've got lots of tomatoes to... Oh, look, there's some more. I've got lots of tomato branches to tie up. And I've got a few over here as well that need harvesting. And look down here. I've got a parsley plant growing that has some lovely lush parsley leaves on it. Here we go, some more tomatoes for the basket. Oh my goodness, I've just spotted a really giant zucchini over here. Look at that one. It's a good size actually. There are some other ones through here, but they are smaller. Oh no, wait. There's a big one on the other side. I was expecting to find some real whoppers in the zucchinis, but they're turning out to be quite a decent size, except for one. And then she sees some more. Okay, two. So this one's gotten away a bit too, but this one's a good, decent size as well. I'm running out of room in my basket here. Another little amount of cherry tomatoes to go in the basket. This is a bit like Christmas, not knowing what you're going to get. I've got some pumpkin vines here that are encroaching a little bit on my cucumbers, so I'm going to make them go up and away from the cucumber plants. They've also started vining out onto the path, so I need to correct these and bring them back through to the Rio. Here's another one. Come through this way. Okay, this zucchini plant I think is like 3 plants in one, and it's really hard to see where the center is, but it's sort of growing up the Rio all by itself, which is handy. Here's one zucchini off it. I can't see any others. I can see that there's a multitude of small ones coming, but I must have harvested from this plant as well. Ooh, let's see if there's any watermelons. I have some beetroots beside me that really need to be harvested soon. There's some baby tromboncinos up above here. There is one larger one growing on this vine over here and a small one just here. I've got another pumpkin or squash-like plant growing in my garden that I didn't plant myself, and I don't know where it's come from. It has a white flower. I'm pretty sure I took a video or I might have taken a photo of the flower. If you know what it is, please do let me know in the comments below. And I'm having a look at my watermelon vines. I can see lots of flowers, but no watermelon fruit as of yet. Also, I have no cucumbers ready to harvest, which is not surprising because I did take off the only cucumber that was decent in size, and there were only really tiny ones, and I wasn't quite sure if they had been pollinated properly or not. Right, down we are here to these sunflowers that are finally flowering. Oops, I just got an ant on me. And the bees are loving them. And I've got another zucchini here, and this one's the striped one, and it's got one piece of fruit on it, but it's not quite ready yet. And then I've got my last lot of carrots here, which are quite a thin lot of carrots, but there are some big ones. Well, when I say big, their heads are quite big, but I'm not sure how big they are underneath. And they are quite big actually on the tops. They might be almost ready, but that one seems to be quite well and truly embedded in the ground. So I need to get a fork to dig it out. Let's see this one here. Okay, it's quite decent on the outside, but it is quite small. So this is the purple dragon carrots. So I'll leave the rest to harvest another day and have a little look. But there are some younger ones in here, so they're not quite ready to be harvested. And there's some beetroot on the other side, which is also not ready. And there's also a whole heap of kale coming up, which I need to move elsewhere. I'm probably going to move it to where I've harvested the potatoes recently. It's another beautiful sunflower. They're so lovely. I spotted a few more cherry tomatoes, but look at all of those tomatoes there on that vine. And also the tomatoes have well and truly made it to the top of the Rio mesh and are getting taller and taller. I'm hoping for a beautiful crop of tomatoes later this month into March. Okay, so there's obviously been a bit of wind here because the netting on the apples is going a bit awry, but we've got some apples to harvest. I'm pretty sure these ones are almost ready on this tree here. Let's have a taste and see. Okay, so this one's not quite ready, but it is a cooker. So it is quite tart, and I kind of like that as an eating apple myself. I love a really proper Granny Smith. This one's not a Granny Smith, it's something else. I have no idea. We have 50 different heritage varieties of apples here. Let me pick another one. I was going to pick an apple from that very shiny apple tree, but I found these two on the ground. So this is the same variety as this one, and it tastes the same as the one that I picked. This one is sweeter, and this one fell off the tree. Okay, this entanglement of netting, actually this is my frost cloth that I was using to try and protect the trees. But can you see this one, how shiny they are? That is just naturally that shiny. Again, I don't know what the variety is, but one day I'll get the list. I'll print it out and we can go and look at all the apples, perhaps next year, or if I get my act together, we could do it on what I have available here. But yeah, when we have the netting up properly and the birds don't take them all, we can go through them and actually have apples to pick off the tree and show you. The netting on this row over here is doing perfectly. So that's good. We just need it to be a little bit longer to cover all of the trees. So I'm not sure when these ones are ready, but they are smaller and younger. Here's a few that have fallen off the tree, but I think these fell off before I put the netting on, and they probably fell off because of the birds. Oh, that wind is picking up. And here's quite a decent amount on this tree as well. Got a huge amount of calendula plants coming up here, which isn't surprising, and the parsley down there is doing really well. The chamomile is going crazy, and I really need to do one more harvest, but a lot of them are probably starting to go to seed now. So they've gotten a bit old. So I'll have to pick through individually and try and find the younger flowers to do another lot of drying with. But I planted these eggplants back here quite late in the season, and I'm really amazed by the height that they're putting on, and they're going to start fruiting soon. I really can't wait to have eggplants coming from the garden again. I don't ever really buy eggplants, I just grow them. So we only really get to eat the ones that we grow. So while we were away, I was still trying to do the pantry and freezer challenge that we're doing at the moment. So we've been doing it for all of January and all of February. And I took away a few meals that I'd already prepared from the produce that we have grown here and from things we've preserved. So there were quite an array of different meals that we had. We had eggs as well. We took eggs with us, and we took, of course, a zucchini to fry up for breakfasts. It was really handy to have the meals pre-prepared. So all I had to do was cook up some rice or some pasta and, put on some toast, because I baked all the gluten-free bread before we left. We had some peaches and a few nectarines. Oh, we need to go and have a look at the nectarines. But we had some of our stone fruit that we took with us as well. We had some leftover mangoes, and I did end up buying some things there as well. My kids ate through all the snacks, and usually because they're so busy with their friends and so excited to be with them, they forget about being hungry and they don't snack as much. But we did a lot of swimming, and swimming really takes it out of you. So I did have to buy a few more items to see us through the trip. Okay, I'm right near our nectarine tree, and we picked a couple of these before we left and let them ripen in the bowl, and they tasted so delicious. And because this tree has been grown from a pip, they don't quite grow as juicy as ones that have been grafted. So we're experimenting with leaving a few on, but I'm really surprised that there are so many on the tree, because I thought the cockatoos would have come and taken them all. I did try to put a net on them, but the net has flown off. I haven't been to the shops to replenish our fruit, although we do have some bananas inside, which I did purchase a couple of days ago, and the kids didn't end up eating while we were away. So I'm going to grab a few of these and hopefully, ooh, this one actually feels quite soft. And this one here that has a few holes in it, that one's actually ripe. I'm also not quite sure how much water this tree has been getting. I know that there is an irrigation pipe under all of this that's growing among it. Let me show you. So there is a creeping plant underneath the base of this tree, which will be taking from the tree's nutrients and also the water as well. So that's maybe why they're not growing as big, but we also don't get very big nectarines from this tree. We have never really gotten big ones. So it might just be the tree because it's not a grafted one. And when you plant a pip, it is not going to be true to the fruit that it was. And we're also not sure where he got the pip from. It was possibly from a grafted tree that he already had, because he had multiple trees and he just put the pips into a pot and see if the tree grew, and he'd give them away. So it's a bit of a sentimental tree too, to have this tree here that my husband's grandfather raised and gave us. So I think that's all that I will harvest from here. The nashis are also coming along nicely. They're not quite ready to pick, although some of them are starting to go a little bit yellow. They're still quite green though. And I've been able to hide all of these ones underneath the netting from the cockatoos. So they're well protected. This is my favorite apple here. Oops, one's just fallen down. And the birds have really just devoured these. I will put the name of them on the screen because I've forgotten what their name is. They taste so good. I'm going to enjoy the few that I did get to harvest off this tree. While we were away, we did a bit of foraging for some food, and we found lots of blackberries and we found some cherry plums as well. And the cherry plums we found remind me of my childhood. They are the larger sized cherry plums and they are so delicious. This one here is a prune plum from the prune plum tree behind me. Wow, it's not massively sweet at all. None of them are really ready. This was the only one that had a bit of colour on it, so I thought I'd give it a go. Here are another two that are soft. They're also starting to change colour, but they're not ready. We also found some bigger plums that I've brought home, so we've got those to eat. They're not very sweet at all, so we might stew them up. But I'm wondering whether this drought that we're going into, whether that's the reason why we're not getting sweeter fruit at the moment. And I suspect it is. I know my husband has said that the peaches that we harvested earlier on in the season, so the early peaches, they hadn't been watered enough, and hence why they were so bland. This prune plum, though, should have been getting lots of water. But yeah, I'm wondering about those wild trees that we found, whether that's why their fruit is also quite bland, because they haven't received much water either. We also found a black walnut tree, and I'm really, really excited. You can probably tell by my hand, it's a bit stained because I opened up one of the black walnuts, and actually they have wonderful tannins in them and they make a wonderful dye for dyeing yarn and fabric. So I'm going to give it a go at making my own dye, but I'm also going to process them for eating. So I'm really keen to go on that journey and I will take you along with me. But I was also interested in trying to raise some trees from the seeds, and it's quite a long process. So watch this space. We shall see how I go with that. Sorry if you can see dirt, but there is a little bit on the lens. I've just harvested these two plums and I'm going to let them ripen in the bowl, but there are way more on this tree and they're not quite ready. So we'll take them inside and see if putting them in the bowl ripens them up enough to harvest some more of them. Well, thank you so much for joining me in my garden today to have a little journey through it and see what's growing after I've been away. It certainly has surprised me how many tomatoes ripened in that time, and that some of these apples are now ready to eat, and that the birds haven't taken all of the fruit. I'm amazed. My husband must have been doing a wonderful job, and the dogs as well, at keeping the cockatoos away. Well, join me again very soon for lots of harvesting and sowing the new seeds. I haven't sown my February seeds yet, so I will be getting onto that very soon. I didn't want to sow anything before I went away and then leave another task for my husband to do. So I'm a little bit later in the month, but it's still perfectly fine. I'm going to be starting my Brussels sprouts most importantly, and also some other brassicas as well. And I need to do a little bit of transplanting. As I mentioned, the kale is starting to come up in my garden from seed that has dropped. So I need to transplant them into other sections of the garden because they are going to get bigger and they're sort of in the pathway, and I won't have any room come winter time if they are growing where they are at the moment. I will of course have to choose a cooler day, and I really have to look at the weather and reassess everything and see what I can do over the next week. But I will definitely see you here again for another video in my garden. See you next time, friends.